Welcome. Hi, everyone. We are here with the Late Bloomer podcast, and today we're talking about a very tricky subject. Disclaimer, some of you guys may feel a bit called out. You may feel like I'm coming for you and you weren't sent for, and I apologize from now, but we're talking about codependency, and I know that a lot of you guys struggle with that. I'm talking about codependency with your friends, with your partners, with your parents. We're going to dive into that today, and we're going to dive into the reason that is stunting your growth. And I'm not speaking from a place of I got it all together, because I recently discovered something about myself that I knew all along, but I didn't realize how severe it was and how much it infiltrated my entire life, and how it kind of has stunted me in my life. So I'm going to talk about my situation, and I am going to talk about some other ways that people can be codependent and how it can affect you and affect your ability to bloom and grow and be the best version of yourself that you really want to be. So let's begin. The first thing I want to say is, if any of these things, if you see yourself in any of these questions that I'm about to ask, then you may be suffering from codependency. Here we go. Here's the list. I have my little computer here with some notes. Am I constantly seeking approval from others? Are you? Do I neglect my own needs to help somebody else? Do I feel responsible for other people's feelings or problems? Do I struggle with setting boundaries? And do I feel anxious or lost when I'm not focused on someone else? Yeah, I know half of y'all. I know that there are so many yeses. Don't lie, okay? Don't lie. I know that it's true. I know that some of you guys are feeling these feelings. And a lot of these, it's not just when I think of codependency, I think of codependency with a partner, but it can be with friends, it can be with your parents, it can be to food, it can be to drugs, partying. You can have, the thing that other thing has to be dependent on you as well, but you know what I'm saying. You can be dependent on something to be okay, and that is an issue. So let's talk about what codependency is, because maybe I'm just talking shit. What is codependency, right? So I have it written down. At its core, it's a behavioral pattern where an individual enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. But it goes deeper than that. It's often characterized by an excessive reliance on other people's approval and sense of identity. It's when our sense of self, our worth, and our very existence becomes intertwined with someone else's life, problems, or happiness that we lose sight of our own. Okay. So let's talk about 3 different situations in which codependency can affect you. Suppressed individuality and self-discovery. Okay. When you care about somebody else so much, or when you put someone else's needs over yours, you kind of lose sight of what you want and what's important to you. Let's say, and I'm making this just shit up, by the way. I'm not using my friends or my family or anybody's lives as an example for this podcast, by the way. I'm making this up right now. But let's say you are a daughter who lives with her mom, and her mom didn't get to fulfill her own life. Maybe she has her own issues. Maybe she struggles with health or something like that. And the daughter feels obligated to stay home with her mom, not go off to college, not go whatever, because she just doesn't want to leave her mom alone, And the mom isn't necessarily saying, no, leave me, please go. Maybe she's kind of low key making her feel kind of guilty for leaving or trying to leave. And there's just this symbiotic relationship where the daughter feels like a bad child, if guilty, if she leaves, and the mom literally benefits off of that guilty feeling that the daughter has, and she benefits by getting somebody who's there all the time and doesn't have to be left alone. But also, it's making her become less independent, less self-sufficient, less whatever, because she has this person enabling her. So it's this like toxic symbiotic relationship that's like happening for the both of them. And so right now I'm talking to the girl, where I'm saying, you staying home and not finding a solution in which you can leave and spread your wings and do your thing because you're so focused on taking care of your mom. And this is a very extreme example, but I'm just using it. You are putting your own needs in the back seat. You don't even know who you are, really, because you haven't had that chance of self-discovery, to figure out what you like, to go off and be independent and really like mature and grow as your own individual person. So you don't even know who you really even are. So I'm sure there's this sense of just dread and sadness because there's a opportunity lost where you never got to really like flourish, So in that's really bad. And there's another example. Maybe you have a partner that doesn't like to go out. You know what I mean? Maybe you have a partner who has like extreme social anxiety or something. And now because you're an extrovert, so you have to like quell your own like personality and stay home because that person is so anxious and doesn't like going out. And now you aren't able to like spread your wings and do what you want to do because they are too shy to like go to a party. And now that person isn't forced, because you're like bending to their will. That person isn't forced to like actually spread their wings and try because you're enabling them and staying home with them. So now you have this like relationship where you're both not being as good as you could be in life because you're helping each other stay home. And I mean, not stay home, but like you're helping each other stay down. You know what I mean? And also in the person that's helping the other person, there's something in them too, though. The need for acceptance, the need for somebody to like them, the need to please, that they are like satisfying in themselves as well by like bending themselves to the will of the other person as well. So that's where that codependency is, and it's very unhealthy, honestly. So that's one example. Another example is boundaries, the erosion of like boundaries and self-care. So because you're in this codependent relationship, right? Maybe I got to go back to that parent. Maybe you have a parent who is always asking. Maybe you have a parent who, you and your wife are in a relationship, and you have a mom who is always popping over. She's always coming over. She's always, just all up in your business. She's criticizing your wife's cooking all the time. She's I don't know, saying like, oh God, you're not folding the laundry like I do. Like, you're not doing this for my son the way I would. You're not. And then the son just keeps allowing her to like push boundaries. And they have this codependent relationship where the mom just can't let go of the child, and the child just feels like he needs his mom around and he can't tell her no. You're ruining your new relationship that you're in now because you can't put boundaries up between you and your mom. And it's the only person that it's hurting is your new partner. And it's also hurting each other too, because your mom needs to get a life. And so do you. so do you, boo. So yeah, codependency is just, now you can't even, you're still dependent on your mom for certain things. And now you and your new wife can't even like find, create your own habits, create your own hobbies, grow together. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you and your wife can't cook very well and you're depending on your mom's cooking. Fine. Okay. Maybe you guys need to stop depending on her cooking so that you both can learn how to survive together. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah, that's all I want to say there. And I'm actually going to use an example in my own life. No, I'll wait. I'll wait until this next danger of codependency. Stunted emotional maturity and personal responsibility. Okay, I'll raise my hand here. I'll jump in. I am independent, pretty confident in myself, and like I thought a mature person. But I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were talking about like wanting to move to a new country, because maybe we don't love the politics that's going on right now in America. And I was like, and they were like, you know what? I think we're going to move to like France or something, or like Spain, or we're going to just like go to Europe and see what that's like. And I was like, that's lit. I would love that. And I definitely see myself as somebody who like is experimental on where I will live. Like I'll do anything. I've lived in Rhode Island. I've lived in Florida. I moved back to Jamaica. Like I've lived in New York. Like I will like, pick up and move. I thought. And so when she told me that, I said, oh yeah, I could do that, but I can't move so far away from my parents. I can't do that. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, my parent would be upset with me if I did that. That particular parent really wants me to stay as close as possible to them. And I thought to myself, and she's like, well, you're 32 years old. And I'm like, oh shit. That sentence, I had an outer body experience, and I looked at this situation, and I was like, this thing like plays out in my life in multiple different ways. Like it's not just about where I live, or I'll ask my parents about every decision that I make. My parent about every single decision that I'll make. I don't make a move without checking in with my parent to see what that person thinks. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think I'm making a mistake? Do you think I should accept this job? Like, what do you think about it? What do you think of the pay? What do you think of And it's understandable why I do that. If you understood the dynamic between me and that parent, we're very close. So it's understandable. And it was cute when I was 25. But when I'm 32, I'm realizing, I have to make moves on my own. I think I care what people, maybe this parent and people in general, think too much. And I think I'm a little bit dependent on their acceptance and them telling. I need reassurance too much. I need validation. That's the word. I need validation too much. And it's a little bit unhealthy. And I think that a lot of people suffer with that. And you got to stop it. I'm going to tell you right now, you have to stop it. You can't let that stop you from making decisions on your own and feeling confident about it. And also making decisions maybe in your relationship instead of with your parent, or making them on your own, like really saying, no, I'm going to move to France. I'm going to take that job. I'm going to move from this house and go to another apartment. I'm going to quit my job. Because I think it's a good idea, like trusting in yourself is so important, and not needing your opinion or your dad's opinion or whatever. That is that marker of growth and maturity, that you can trust in yourself and make mistakes. Also, a lot of us are afraid to fail. A lot of us are really afraid to fail. And like we're looking for validation so that we can take as little risk as possible so that we don't have to experience failure. And that's not helpful, because you're not going to learn anything. Achieving anything really is just about how many failures you've collected in your life and how many lessons you've learned from them. Honestly, it's not about you succeeding every single time, because that's just not possible. That's not realistic. Sorry. Yeah, that's just not realistic. It's just not what life looks like. So, yeah, lean on your own understanding of life. Yeah, so let's talk about the fix. How do we fix this? How do we like get better from this state that we're in, where we're super dependent on our either a relationship. Maybe you're somebody who needs to be in a relationship because they just have a really hard time like being alone. That is a real issue. That is a real issue that will, it may be cute in your 20s, but once you hit your 30s, you'll start to really see that shit. Who am I? Who am I alone? Why is it that, because those relationships never really work out. If your identity is based on being with somebody, those relationships never really work out, because you don't know who you are. You don't know what you like. They never work. You'll always break up, and then you'll like quickly try and find somebody else really quick so that you don't have to experience being alone. It will always become an issue where if you don't know who you are, then you don't know what your boundaries are, you don't know what your likes and your dislikes and your values are as an individual, just as an individual on your own, and you can't make big decisions by yourself, then you don't have enough value to bring into another relationship with somebody else. Do you know what I mean? If you are somebody who is, when you're in that relationship, you're constantly giving and giving and giving and giving, and the person is just taking, and you just never feel fulfilled within yourself and within that relationship, if you don't like yourself, you'll always accept shit. Do you know what I mean? So being able to be alone and serve yourself first is incredibly important. And when you're a whole complete person, then you can go into that relationship. Maybe you have problems with codependency with friends. I definitely have had that issue before as well. Like, you know, when you're trauma bonding with a friend so hard that you're kind of helping each other be mediocre. Do you know what I mean? Like, that sounds bad. When you're helping each other stay in that place of like trauma, or maybe underachievement, or whatever the case is, because you're just validating each other's like why we can't do better because of this and this and this, or that we are both not trying as hard as we can because of this and this and this, and we just kind of like keep bonding over that, and we never like push forward. Those relationships aren't beneficial to you and to your growth as a person. Do you know what I mean? There are many different kinds of relationships that if you really examine them, they're based on maybe toxic habits that you guys have together, codependent toxic habits that you have together, that you realize like, oh shit, like this is actually not helping my growth as a person. And I'm not saying that you have to dump that friend. You just have to, the solve, which I'm going to get into right now, isn't necessarily, maybe it is, maybe you do have to dump that friend, or maybe you have to redefine the friendship, and maybe you have to distance yourself a little bit. Maybe you can't be as close anymore because that closeness turns into toxicness and negativity. I don't know. Or maybe you have to redefine it where it's like, okay, we're not going to talk about how miserable we are together anymore. We're going to talk about how we're going to fix these things together. And then we're going to hold each other accountable for changing in the future. You know what I mean? That is a healthy way to like redefine your friendship. So let's talk about some fixes. Prioritizing self-care. From now on, you're going to dedicate time for yourself. Take yourself on a date. You're either going to take yourself to the beach, you're going to go on a walk, you're going to go to a bookstore, read a book. I don't know. You're going to do something for yourself that has nothing to do with that other person. or other people in general, so that you can just like get time to just like love on yourself and be with yourself and put yourself first. And that will really help with your self-esteem and your confidence, and that will in turn help you to say no sometimes in the situations when you're in a situation where you're having this like toxic thing. You can more easily say no because you've given yourself a little bit of love and affection, and it's given you the confidence to be like, actually, no, I come first. No. My next thing is setting boundaries. Say no more. Practice saying no. It's a muscle. It takes time. It takes time to say no. I'm a yes man for sure. I've been that, where people ask me to go out, people ask me to do something, people ask me for favors and are annoying, and I do it anyway, but I do it begrudgingly. Don't do anything begrudgingly, by the way. Don't do something nice if you're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. If you're doing something nice but you don't want to, or you're doing something nice and you cuss them and you talk shit behind the person's back, don't bother. Don't do it. It's not right. So I'm practicing saying no and saying yes only when I genuinely want to do that thing, or I genuinely don't have a problem doing that thing, or because not everything that you do you are gonna like, but you can't be begrudging. You can't be grudgeful when you do that thing, because that's just not healthy. Identifying your own needs and desires. Going back to the questions before, am I constantly seeking approval from others? Do I neglect my own needs? Asking yourself, what are my needs? And so that you can be sure to put them first before somebody else asks you for something. If your friend says, hey, can you come over and help me do something, but you know that you have to study for your exam later, and then make sure my needs are, it's really important that I become a nurse this year. So that means that comes first. So you need to study for your exam before you go help that friend. Because in the alternate universe, if you go help that friend and your exam is tomorrow, and then you get back home at 9 p.m. and then you're cramming up until 3 a.m. and then you go to the exam and you feel tired and you fail, and then you blame yourself, and then you resent. What's worse is that you resent that friend for asking you for help. No, don't do that. Put yourself first. Do the exam. If the person is upset with you, then they're not your friend. If the person is upset but you told them that, I have an exam tomorrow morning, I can't, that's not your friend. That person is using you. That person has high expectations. That person is self-serving. That person is just not, that person doesn't care about you and your well-being, and fuck them. Sometimes that person is your mom, by the way. Sometimes that person may be your mom or your dad or your cousin or your auntie or your grandma. And so I'm not saying fuck your grandma. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying maybe that's a conversation that you have to have with that person. And I know that's very difficult, especially speaking to your parents and getting them to like respect your boundaries. That's really difficult. But that's what you have to do. You have to do that. You can't put your parents before your needs. That sounds bad, but do you know what I mean? Those codependent relationships are like killing your growth. They really are. Okay. And then my last thing, and I'm going to read, is embracing healthy interdependence. And now that doesn't mean that you need to like isolate and you can't be close with your family anymore or your friends, or you need to break up with your boyfriend. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, as I said before, like defining the relationship, explaining what your boundaries are, explaining what your needs are. And if they can't understand them, then maybe you have to put them to a distance, or maybe you have to break up with them, or maybe you have to force boundaries upon them until they learn. But whatever it is, your growth comes first. Your needs and your growth come first. So whatever you have to do to prioritize that is what you have to do. Straight up. So yeah, that was my little rant on codependence. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Thanks so much for being here, and have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.